Chakraborty. Previously, I was in Indian Army, and I am a neurophysician.
Okay.
Practicing in Kolkata now.
So, Dr. Chakraborty, we have come across certain cases where we suspect that one person was a victim of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, uh, from your expertise, what are the typical manifestations, symptoms of PTSD?
Mostly, it depends on the severity of the trauma, and what we have seen in most cases, there's a temporary loss of memory,
Okay.
or there may be the patient's behavior may change.
Okay.
And third thing is hallucination. The patient will hallucinate a lot of things.
Okay.
So these three are most common changes that we have noted in post-traumatic disorder.
The loss of memory, let's take it first. Loss of memory can occur periodically, or is it for extended period of time? Say, a person can be normal for a long period of time, and in fits, in bouts, he has misplaced memory. Just complete loss of memory or mixes up things in the past. Can it happen only for short periods, specific periods of time, or is it once it happens, it stays with him?
No, actually what happened, immediately after the trauma, there is a memory loss which extends for generally for a few weeks to months.
Okay.
Then the patient recovers. Then he or she recollects the things. And then only this memory loss happens occasionally. And there may be some triggering factor. So what we have seen is the triggering factor mostly severe emotional trauma, that again further trauma, some emotional factor acts. So that time again there will be memory loss, and that may be complete, maybe partial, but most of the cases it's seen that the memory loss is selective. Means he recollects a lot of things and he is not recollecting a lot of things. So it's a selective memory loss. So that happens very commonly.
Loss of memory, to give an example, it can be a loss of memory for even a very serious, severe personal event in life. Say, for example, death of my mother, with whom I was very attached. I can make mistakes about the time of her death or the month of her death. That kind of loss of memory can also happen.
Yes, that kind of loss of memory, it connects with that hallucination part. There, that person hallucinates. He has one trigger point, that her mother or father, whatever it is, and keeping that point constant, he's hallucinating a lot of other things.
Okay.
So basically, then you will say he's in delusion.
Okay. Okay. How about hallucination?
Hallucination, like if the person after this trauma, brain trauma, his limbic system generally got the maximum load. So patient hallucinates. Whenever he is having partial loss of memory, he has hallucination, and that part is covered by this hallucinating factor. So hallucination acts as this memory loss and hallucination, they goes hand in hand.
And this hallucination, is it a visual kind of hallucination, or it can be something like an inflated idea of the self, like a delusion of grandeur, believing that I am some great man and I have done something very great, whereas in that particular imagination that person might not have had a role. So for instance, I will give you an example. Can it be that I start believing that the Americans bombed Japan to kill me because I was so important? Can that be a sort of a form of hallucination?
Occasionally that's there, but generally type of hallucination will be that person's visual hallucination in later stage is not that much.
Okay.
It's only the behavioral or the perception hallucination.
Perception
Yes,
hallucination.
perception hallucination. And to some extent, illusion.
Okay.
It's he's seeing something and he's thinking something. So that's called illusion. So illusional hallucination is very common.
And that illusion can be about the past also.
Yes.
It's not only about what I'm seeing
No,
now.
no. Mostly about the past.
Mostly about the
Mostly
past.
about the past.
One person suffering from PTSD can perfectly alternate between periods of normalcy and these syndromes.
Yes, initially the normal and the abnormal stage is very quick, but in later stage, this abnormal stage or the hallucination or delusional stage will be very occasional.
Very occasional.
But initially it alters, very quickly it alters. The person is normal and within 2-3 days is hallucinating, is doing all these things. So there will be alternating system.
And what could be the triggering events or triggering incidents?
Mostly it's anything his past whatever past things he has done, and somebody is hammering on that. Maybe he has done something wrong or something not so good, and somebody is hammering on that part. Then that it's a you can say that time he wants to stand him in a
Good image,
he wants
better
to
image.
defend him, and for defending, we generally people do all these things for defending him,
Okay.
consciously or unconsciously.
And it can be, the trigger point can also be a former situation which was by itself traumatic, say for example torture. If that person has undergone torture or severe emotional stress, uncertainty and lot of struggle in life, those can be traumatic situations, and could memories of those be triggering
Yes,
points?
yes, definitely. If somebody, that person who tortured him or that situation, if he again sees that or he feels that's the acts as the triggering factor.
And in this situation, when a person is suffering from PTSD, does it really alter things like his handwriting?
Generally, no, it should not. Actually, handwriting is a motor activity, and by this thing, hallucination and whatever post-traumatic things happens in the brain, the handwriting should not be changed. Handwriting, generally, this motor function will not be affected.
So, if the effect of the PTSD declines over a period of time or stabilizes or minimizes, does it ever go away completely?
Yes, but it takes time, years.
Uh,
It takes some years. People they got 100% cured from this PTSD, but it takes a lot of time.
I mean, years means 10 years, maybe 15 years, 20 years.
Maybe.
Just as a
but generally in years, not in months.
not in months.
Yes.
But they can get
Cured.
completely
Yes,
cured.
completely cured.